Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Namaste experience. I'm so happy to be able to join with you. Even though I'm in Italy with an amazing group of people, I can be fully present here to get our sessions rolling. And all week long, we're going to be beginning with some very potent statements that are meant to penetrate the armor. Like a knight in shining armor. We've been wearing this shiny armor thinking that it protects us. Well, what we need to do is to penetrate. What we really need is to let that armor come crashing off us so we can be vulnerable within our invulnerability. And that's what we're going to be doing all week. But let's begin with our morning affirmation prayer. So please join me now. My soul has but one goal, to awaken to the truth that is forever true. My heart has but one desire, to remember the passion of infinite bliss. My mind has but one focus, to embrace the reality that is forever real. I choose to awaken now to the infinite love that is my source. I give everything to this love, just as it has given everything to me. I am awake now. So, how is everyone today?
Awake
How
and ready.
feels everyone today?
Awake and ready.
I know it's true. So let's dive right in with our first potent awakened statements that will penetrate that thick armor that we've used to protect ourselves. Here it is. You'll always do what you need to do when you allow yourself to be where you've always been. Let me say it again. You'll always do what you need to do when you allow yourself to be where you've always been. These are like cones in the Buddhist tradition. These are meant to inspire something deep within you so that you can see that which could always be seen if we just take the blinders off. I've said before that you're not blind just because you're wearing a blindfold. As soon as you take off the blindfold, you're able to see that which has always been right in front of you. And a statement like this, and every one that we're going to begin with this week, they are meant for you to shake you in a way. To shake you in a way that allows you to realize, to see through your real eyes, that which has always been right in front of you. So let me read it one more time. You'll always do what you need to do when you allow yourself to be where you have always been. So now I'm going to turn it over to Sheila and to Vicky, and I know they're going to take this one line in a whole another beautiful direction, and yet the same direction, because it's really so simple if we just allow it to be. So I feel very blessed to be joining with you every morning. Have a wonderful rest of your session, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Woo! Talk about it. Doesn't he have such a way with words?
Yeah.
So, before we get into that, me bouncing off James, that's a thought, isn't it? Anyway, that didn't sound just right, but anyway. We're celebrating St. Francis for 4 days. That's why the fireworks and the... Yeah. So St. Francis and our own James Francis Twyman, one of his favorites is St. Francis, and mine too. You like him too? Yeah. What's not to like about St. Francis of Assisi? Yeah, so James, your words, take off the knight in shining armor and penetrate it, and so that we can be vulnerable within our own invulnerability. That is so powerful. And he said in the Buddhist tradition, something about cones. Is that what you got? Yeah. Take off our blindfold. And wow, I'm thinking of, times in my life where I felt like I was wronged. You ever been wronged? And how awful it was and how it hurt and how I wanted to be understood for my true intentions, and can't you just understand me and hear me? How could you think I would do what you're saying I did? And I remember one time a husband had said something really cruel to me, and I remember calling a girlfriend and she started male bashing, and I went, oh yeah, let's get right into that. I mean, isn't it hard not to get sucked into that? Because our human nature is that we like to do that. Let's make up. We were even starting to make up stories. He is so mean. And do you remember the time when, and none of it was really true because we didn't really know what was going on with him. And I think I was feeling worse and worse. And I think she was too. Didn't make us feel any better. And so finally I realized what we were doing, that it wasn't helping. And so I said to her, you know what? This isn't really helping. It's making me feel worse. It's not effective. It's not constructive. I'd like to just change this trajectory. And there's a couple things I'm thinking that we could do here that might be more helpful. And one is, could you just give me feedback on how I might have interpreted this differently, what he said differently, so that I don't take on these negative emotions that might not even be justified. Because, it's all through his lens of his experiences, his childhood, his life. And my reaction was through my lens, and my girlfriend's reaction, she was really with her. She wasn't with me because she wanted to male bash. So it wasn't really helpful. And so who knows what his life, what brought him to that, to say what he said. And who knows what happened in my life to bring me to feel so hurt by it. And really, I mean, sometimes I can go, well, this was when I was younger. I didn't have a lot of tools to use. I didn't know how to go about healing. Even though I was always studying self-help books. I'm an expert in psychology. Did you know that? Yeah. So anyway, then I found spirituality and spiritual psychology. Wow. So, but before that, I was a mess. I didn't know how to deal with stuff like this, and I could go for days and weeks and months even, and I would think I would have it healed, and then daggone if it didn't come back. You ever have that happen? Okay, is this another layer or what? Something would trigger it again, and there I'd be again. So she said, well, okay, sure. I think he might have meant this. And I go, oh, of course. Maybe that's what was going on with him. Oh. Now, when I came to a different understanding of all the other possibilities, then I could go to him and ask and talk to him about it. But this does not mean that I laid down and became a doorstep and allowed him to continue doing that. This doesn't mean that at all. Because I noticed when I would go into my heart and go, oh, I see through his armor. Poor guy, he had an awful childhood. Then I didn't hold him accountable, and then I allowed myself to get sucked back in again. And I didn't want to do that because I love me too. Yeah? And I love him, and he wasn't feeling good about the things he did and said. So the other thing that I found very helpful was Ho'oponopono. You all know that. You all know it. And it was, and I began to realize that doing that mantra, what is it? I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you.
Larry?
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
Some people do it in a different order.
It doesn't matter what order you do it in, really.
Oh, good.
And you can focus on the other person, and if you do, you really need to concentrate. This is for the other person. But it's really best to focus on you. It's really about you. And so it's an old Hawaiian tradition, and they would take it into families that were dysfunctional and say, we're going to right the wrong here. And they said, because if you don't, it's going to make everybody sick. And they said, and sometimes it's the guilt that makes people sick. So, in other words, and they truly believed, as many of us believe, that as James pointed out last week, that when we judge someone else, we're murdering ourselves, we're judging ourselves. Boy, that one was a really eye-opener for me, and it took me a few days to go, oh, I don't want to murder anybody else, nor murder myself. And so with Ho'oponopono, we forgive ourselves, and so we focus on ourselves, and it's a good mantra that a lot of people use it in the mornings. So to get us back on the right path of back to what we hope to be in our spiritual awakening, then maybe saying this mantra would be a good one for us to practice. And I found it to be very effective. And so the psychiatrist that came in and kind of took this idea and adopted it to the prison system where they had mentally ill prisoners who didn't seem to be any hope. And he didn't go to the prisoners. He stayed off to himself and said it. And he went to each of their files and said it over their files. And then he said it to himself. And a miraculous thing happened. They began to start being more cooperative, less angry. And some of them even were able to be released eventually from prison. So when he's saying these things to himself, he's also saying it for everyone else. So focusing on ourselves, that's the idea of it. It's really a powerful tool. I'm wondering if we ought to try to, because I forget, and I need constant reminders. Do you? Yeah. I'm wondering if this might be a good practice for us to do maybe this week. Yes, and maybe report in on Friday about how that's going. What do you think? Want to do that?
Sure. I was hoping you would say that it's a good thing that we can practice right now, and you can lead us a little bit in it. Like guide us a little bit.
Okay.
It's a request, not a demand.
Alrighty. So, okay, let's do that right now. Just focusing not on other people, but on ourselves. And I'd like to close my eyes as we do this. Thank you, Scott. So, okay. So I love you. Saying this to yourself. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Breathing into that. Sit with that for a moment. When you feel complete, if you'd let me know by opening your eyes. How was that?
Nurturing.
Nurturing. That's me. Most of the time. All right. Vicki, what do you think?
Oh, Sheila, thank you. That's what I think. And thank you, everyone. And I love that we have a practice for the week because that's how we allow this to happen to us. Thank you. Was that Scott who said that? Thank you, Scott. Yep. And thank you for doing it right away. You know, that's just that in itself is an important thing for all of us to realize. When someone asks us for help or we see a situation that needs help, we grew up in a culture where we'll make an appointment, we'll take care of it later. But when we are where we're supposed to be centered in our soul light, everything is now. It's immediate. Just like when Scott said it, and Sheila, you did it. We do it now. A request for healing comes, we respond now, even quietly, silently, but we never make it later. Later immediately puts us in a split identity and into the whole world of separation. When we take everything as wholly fulfilled and perfect right now, giving what's invited right now, so it is fulfilled. The other part of that is that Ho'oponopono and Dr. Hugh Lin that you were talking about in Hawaii, Hugh Lin knew this Hawaiian practice was to himself, to his own places where he still believed in any sense of separate self. That's why the prayer is not for the other person, because there is no other person. That's a very important part of Ho'oponopono, I think. And for all of us to get that the world of form is a mirror. Finally, we're accepting that. Like you get it up here, you get the understanding. It's come through in every tradition, east to west, but applying it is as simple as the situation in front of us this day. If we have a hurt with someone or an upset from the past, the time to address it now, and the one that is carrying the problem is always me. When I tell you about something about my brother, I'm not telling you about his state, I'm telling you about my state. And that's universal. This time and space, it's like a magic house. You know, you go into a magic house with mirrors all over the place. It's a magic house of mirrors. And if we want to get free to know, like Jimmy James's quote in the beginning, if we want to know what the perfect thing to express or do right now, we have to be where we have always been. We have always been in the light of God's love, as God's love. That's what we are. If we operate and think or say or do anything from a sense of being separate from our own source of love, don't even have to call it a God or a religion, just call it love. If we're separate from love, where there's a pause or a hesitation, we are not going to know what to say or do, because it's going to come out of that sense of separation and it's going to add to the separation. But when we are in our hearts, there's no division in any of our hearts. Our hearts are, and the nature of our heart of love is inclusive. So we know what to do, what to say, is because it's always an expression of love. That's why hopefully Christianity, Christ's message from the beginning 2,000 years ago was true justice. Not that there was reparation and punishment, but that God's love was a merciful love that simply loved and included everyone in as his children and saw everyone as he created them, not as the sorry story of costume and script that we've all taken up. That's what's given us to do. When we refuse to identify a brother by his script and his storyline and his costuming and all that, I think the best thing to do with all that is be entertained by it or appreciate, the whatever went into it, but certainly not to depend on it for how or what we're to be. If we are centered in our heart, we see our brother's heart. We see through his armor of costume and script, and we bless him, and we love him, and we include him as part of ourselves. Love's nature is inclusive. It is that simple. And the other thing, if we're going to do Ho'oponopono, Pierre, a dear brother of ours, who's often been on this call, on this Zoom and other calls that we all share, he was given a new Ho'oponopono in the last couple of years. And it's the Ho'opono of oneness and of love. And I'm just going to say it, and hopefully I'm going to remember it correctly. But it's the same principle that we are one. That's the principle, and that we are love. So this is how it goes. I see you. So we see a situation or a brother in distress or has upset us or whatever it is. I see you. I welcome you. I rejoice in you. I love you. I am you are, we are one. Isn't that simple? No matter what, I mean, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, Dr. Warrior, Indian chief, it doesn't matter, saint or sinner, it doesn't matter. The soul of each of us has one identity. It's the light of God's love. That's what we are. And that's all we're called to see. That's what St. Francis saw in everyone, in himself and everyone else. Also today and this weekend has been the feast day of St. Teresa of Lisieux, the little flower, who promised to send down roses to earth. And I think the Pope is celebrating that maybe yesterday. So between Francis and St. Teresa of Lisieux, these are very grassroots practices of defenselessness. That's what it means to take off our armor, to just be defenseless and let ourselves be as God created us, as love. And if we feel anything but love, we go home to our Father, our Creator, and ask for the help to feel that love. And the best help we can get is to witness that love in a brother, no matter who he is. Someone on the news, someone in front of you, a family member. I see you. I welcome you. I rejoice in you. I love you. I am, you are, and we are one. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, everybody. Happy Monday. What a wonderful week we're going to have. Dropping all our defenses, paying attention that the world around us is a mirror, and let it be a good mirror, a learning device, so that we're not fooled anymore to think we can fix things outside of ourselves, but simply in our own mind, to relax, to rest, into being God's beautiful children. God's in charge. Thank you.
Right. Oh, wow. Thank you. It is about oneness, isn't it? So I want to say that penetrating that knight in shining armor or that mask is not easy. Yeah? It wasn't easy for me to finally say to my girlfriend, oh, this is not helping. And the closer I got to realizing I wanted to do the Ho'oponopono prayer was the more vulnerable I felt. And so as I began to chant the prayer, I began to feel less and less vulnerable, and that mask started to melt away. So it's not an easy thing to break through that vulnerability, but the prayer is a real good way to do it. So, yes. All right. I think that does it for today. So we're going to stop the recording.
Amen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I forgot to do that. So, amen, 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 y punto. Thank you for reminding me.
Beautiful.
Short one.
Cut you off. So what's going on? Oh, we didn't cut somebody off. Uh-oh.